We all know that lifelong learning is important today in the digital economy, and that if someone wants to keep their skills current, they're going to have to stay in the labor force as well as in the education business throughout their career. And so what we want to talk about today is how is MIT doing this? What is MIT's vision for workplace learning, and how do people get involved? We're fortunate to have two leading experts from MIT to talk about this. We have Vijay Kumar. Vijay is the Associate Director of Education and Lifelong Learning Activities here and the Executive Director of the J-WEL Lab, the World Lab for Education on Lifelong Learning. And we have George Westerman. George is a well-known expert in digital transformation and in workplace skills, and he is the faculty leader for the J-WEL Lab in this area, and also a senior Principal Research Director and Associate at the Initiative for the Digital Economy here at MIT. So welcome, George and Vijay. Let's get started. Vijay, tell us, what is MIT doing in this area of workplace learning? What's its vision for the future?
Thank you, Tom. Hello, George. Well, as you know, MIT has been trying to leverage digital learning opportunities in very, very innovative ways, so that it can provide flexible learning opportunities for continuous education for people anywhere, so that they can really have access to high quality learning opportunities, whether it's for knowledge updates, whether it's for career changes, and the MITx courses, the courses that are done, blended learning opportunities. Perhaps the most notable vivid example of that is a recently launched program, and I say recently, it's about 1.5 years old now, the MicroMasters program, which is a series of courses that are available to anyone in the world, and people can take it. But what's very interesting about the program is that people take these courses, they can get these online MicroMasters credentials, but if they desire and if they are qualified, they can actually come for an accelerated terminal master's degree program at MIT. And now we have evidence that people actually take advantage of that. What is even more telling is that it's not just MIT, but other universities are signing up for the terminal part of the, for the residential part of the program. So it really offers a wonderful opportunity for professional development, for upskilling.
Well, I really like this collaborative approach between industry and the workforce itself and MIT. So George, maybe tell us a little bit about how does this speak to the needs of industry, and then we can talk about how it speaks to the interests and needs of individual workers.
So one of the things I hear as we talk to leaders of organizational learning, corporate learning officers, these people in organizations, is they're facing two major challenges right now. One of the challenges is more short-term, which is there are certain skills they need to get in there. Skills like machine learning and working with cloud and some advanced manufacturing techniques and things. And they need to figure out how to get that when the colleges haven't quite caught up, right? And so how can they find the right people or help to skill their people to get there? That's a short-term thing. The longer-term challenge is that they're being asked more and more to show the value of what they're doing. And so just like any major corporate investment, just like any major corporate officer, if you have a major effort and a major investment, you really should be able to show whether you're doing well on that or not. This is really tricky for a lot of these learning officers, and they're trying to work through that problem. So what we're doing in J-WEL is approaching both of those. We're talking from the skills side about who can benefit most from training. What is the best way to deliver different kinds of training? We'll do some science and try to figure out how you measure that. What about portability? Can we find people outside the firm as well as inside? How do you know that they've got the skills or not? And also thinking about skills and trajectories and other things inside the organization. Then we're also going to be talking about the design of the learning organization, measuring the value. How can you think about the right mixes of hybrid courses of online, offline, those kinds of things. That's really why we're set this up, and we've set it up as a true collaborative. So certainly the MIT research will be there. Certainly the MIT experts will be there at our events, but in addition, we have the learning officers from some of the top companies in the world who are going to spend time together attacking these problems together.
Good. Well, that's, building on that expertise and the resources of MIT, that's what we do best. How about individuals? Tell us how individuals, how do they engage What are their needs and how can we meet them?
So it's really interesting for individuals that as much as some companies are looking at developing their entire workforce, many companies are not. The days when you could enter a company and stay with that company for your career and the company would take care of you, those days are largely gone. There are a few exceptions. I have friends at GE, at Ford, at P&G, where these companies will let you do that. But most of the time, employee development is now the job of the employee, not the company. And so what that means is you need to find ways to keep yourself relevant, and you need to find ways to keep yourself not only lined up for your current job, but for the next job along the way. And so what we can do for individuals, already Vijay's talked about the MicroMasters. MIT for years has been a leader in this ability to put our material out there. What we'll be able to do for individuals in our J-WEL group is we'll be helping to tackle some of the major skill needs now that employers have identified. And as individuals, you'll be able to have access to that and skill yourself up for those, make yourself available for other jobs as you come along.
Well, George, one of the things that we know from all kinds of continuing education is we have to get multiple employers to work together to be collaborative and to share in both the costs and then share in the benefits of a more highly skilled labor force. How are employers working together with you to make this happen?
So, one of the things that employers can do is they can go out to a consulting firm and pay zillions of dollars and maybe get what they want. And then the consulting firm will then duplicate that for other companies. And that can work. But many of the employers are starting to say, well, why don't we work together a little bit more carefully? So that's what's happening in our collaborative. We have 5 different work groups in our collaborative looking at the future worker, the worker of 2025. How do you measure learning? How do you think about design of a learning organization? How do you make sense out of ed tech? And what we've done in this situation is our members don't just come to MIT events, they actually help us to lead and to work on those work groups so they can answer for themselves and then we can share forward. It's become a very nice thing. And then not only us, but there are other ways that they're branching together. So for certification, for example, there's a separate organization that we're linked up with that's looking at transferable certificates.
Good.
And that way, rather than us reinvent that, we'll just work with those people to help make that happen.
Good.
We work with community colleges, and I wanted to get to that because our channel to get to the workforce is not always through corporations, but through these other kinds of institutions who actually are very, very engaged in and much more proximally engaged in developing workforce, this thing. So community colleges, and we are working with community colleges to see how, again, students who come in at different points in time with different kinds of preparation, many of them who come in late, adult learners who need remediation, things like that, to understand where they are deficient or where they need strengthening so that we can really provide targeted quality learning experiences.
Well, I'm delighted to hear that MIT is reaching out and working with community colleges. They are an American treasure and so important to technical and developmental skills for young people and for continuing education. So I think it's a great example of partnership.
And this is so important because at least last time we ran our analysis, 3 out of every 5 college-educated people are not working in jobs that require college degrees.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And if once you get beyond about 40, your college degree your skills may not be what you learned in college. So this idea of being able to build up skills, certify those skills in ways that don't require a college degree is really important.
That is so important because there's nothing more frustrating than being underemployed, to use the technical term of investing in education and then not being able to use those skills. First, they depreciate very quickly, and secondly, it's demoralizing, and so people then are not of a mindset to continue the education process.
And so many people can't even afford to go to college. So how can we get them into good, high-paying jobs where they can support a family without having to invest $100,000?
Well, it's an expanding world of workplace learning. I'm delighted that MIT is on the frontier of it, and I hope that our sister and peer institutions and colleges all across the country and indeed across the world also are doing things like this so that we can really provide access to all of the people and to make this a more inclusive economy for the future. So thank you for your leadership on this, and let's see if we can't make workplace learning the norm for everybody in our economy. Thank you very much.